and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are new here, my name is Rachel and I am a women's body transformation coach. In this video, I'm going to share with you how you can lose fat this Christmas season, and I'm going to give you everything that I wish I knew at the start of my journey. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to be sharing a few tips on what to avoid as well. Tip number one, something that I genuinely wish that I knew at the start, and I definitely underestimated how important these two things were. And that was number one, to drink your water every single day, which I know sounds super basic, but it's something that a lot of women don't do, especially at this time of year, because they'll be out and about, they'll be drinking lots of alcohol, and then they just don't think about actually drinking water as well. It's important, ladies, really important. And not just to keep yourself hydrated, but also to help with the hangovers, because let's face it, no one wants to wake up in the morning and feel like absolute shit. And then the second part of that, another non-negotiable that you need to make sure you do, is still hit your step target. Just because it might be raining, just because it might be cold, just because you might have a sore head, doesn't mean that you need to just sit on the sofa all day. Still get yourself out and about, because the more you move effectively, as long as we're in a calorie deficit, the more you're going to burn. But also from a mental point of view, just a mental state, get yourself out and about. Don't just sit around and do nothing all day. Tip number two, make sure you still get your gym sessions done. Just because it's the winter, just because it's Christmas, doesn't mean that the gym's suddenly shut and that you don't need to go and train. And when you do train, make sure you do it with intent. Don't just walk in there and think, oh, I'll just do a few exercises and then I'll leave. I didn't really break a sweat, didn't really try that hard. That's not going to get you anywhere. Make sure you actually train hard. Make sure you're pushing yourself. Make sure you're challenging yourself. Make sure you actually leave that gym knowing that you have done all that you can do. And I guarantee you, even when you think you've done all that you can, you will definitely be able to do a bit more. So just keep pushing yourself. Make sure you get those sessions planned into your diary as well. Don't just hope for the best. Don't just hope that you're going to get them in, because let's face it, our diaries are typically a bit more busier at this time of year. So just like you would a doctor's appointment or a hair appointment, plan the gym sessions into your diary. And tip number three, let's actually be really mindful of what food we're eating. When it comes to choosing a meal, let's focus on having a lean protein source, plenty of veg, salad or fruit to bulk out the meal, and also a decent carbohydrate source as well. Just because it's Christmas, it doesn't mean you need to revert to freezer food and all of the stuff that you see advertised in all of the supermarkets. Yes, okay, you might have a few of those things on Christmas Day, Boxing Day, that's fine. But in the lead up, you don't need to treat Christmas as every single day in December. You actually still need to follow your food structure. So decent amount of protein, lots of fruit, veg and salad, and a decent amount of carbs with every single meal. And finally, here are 3 quick fire tips to avoid when you are trying to lose fat. Tip number one, when you're at home, you don't typically have a starter, main and dessert with every single meal. Therefore, when you go out, you also don't need to do the same. And just because other people might be doing it doesn't mean that you need to. Just focus on the main course, making sure you've got the protein, lots of fruit, veg or salad and a decent amount of carbs. Tip number 2, don't adopt poor food behaviours. You don't need to eat and drink everything in sight. You don't need to get sucked into all of the festive advertising for all of the different foods that have now suddenly come out at Christmas. You don't need to go and do all of that. So just be mindful, stick to your portion sizes, stick to the plan. Don't go and overeat just because you see something advertised. And tip number 3, you don't need to say yes to every single social event. I know that this might not be something that you would expect me to say, but you actually don't need to be that yes person that goes out and eats every night or goes for a drink every night or whatever it is you've been invited to. It is okay if you want to say no because you want to put your goals first. So with that being said, I hope these tips have been useful, but more importantly, I actually hope that you go away and implement them, because listening to me is one thing, but you actually now need to go and put in the work. And I guarantee you, if you follow the first 3 tips that I gave you and also avoid the final 3 tips, then you will head into January 2024 in a much better position than what you're in now. And more importantly, you'll still be able to enjoy Christmas and lose fat at the same time. Thank you so much for watching, and please make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'll speak to you on the next video.